and welcome. I'm out on a solo camping trip again. I left the cot here last week knowing I was coming back this week. But I've been saying for a long time that I wasn't crazy about the canvas roof. I was worried about it leaking. I want to cover it with another tarp. Sure enough, I showed up today. The cot was soaked from here to here. So now I'm trying to dry it out so that I can actually spend the night. Hopefully I can get this cot dried out. I'm going to dry it mostly out here by the fire. I wasn't planning on lighting the stove this early, but I got a fire going in the stove trying to melt some of the snow off the roof. It seems to be drying fairly fast. Oh yeah, it's almost dry now. There's just a few drops here and there. I've been pumping the heat to the stove inside. I managed to melt most of the snow off the roof. But this canvas is doing exactly what I thought it was going to do. When the snow melts, the water drips on the canvas, but the water is staying on the canvas too long, so it's absorbing through just a little bit. So next weekend, I have a bigger tarp. Next weekend, what I plan on doing, I have a small tarp that'll come up from right about here behind the stove down to cover. And I have a larger tarp that'll come from the roof and it'll come down past this tarp. That way, the water will flow from tarp to tarp and it'll protect the canvas. That way the canvas should not get wet anymore. Now what I'm going to do is the smaller tarp that's going to come from about here down, if we decide to use the stove, I will cut a small hole in it for when we're using the stove. Oh, look at that. Partridge walking past right behind me in the bush, right behind the camera. And then the tarp from above will come up and overlap it. Now, when we put it away during the summer, we don't come out here. The mosquitoes are way too bad. We have other spots that have more wind and keep the mosquitoes away. But I do have a big tarp and I will cover the whole roof for the summer so that the water doesn't get at the canvas. Let me see if I can turn this camera around and catch this partridge. I'm keeping this stove as full as I can. And throwing out as much heat as I can. If I can get that tarp mostly dry by tonight, I'll be perfectly fine sleeping in here. And of course, because I'm trying to dry out that tarp, it's going to start to snow. This area behind me here, this is my sleigh. There's still my bedding is still under there staying dry. But there's a mountain of snow behind it. I might try and shovel some of that pile out because that is where I want to put my woodshed. And then that way I can have a little bit of fire under the table for the outside fire, and I can keep the woodshed full. That way, if we need it in there, we've got it, it's close. If we need more over there, I can restock under the table whenever we need it. I may break out the shovel and try and get rid of some of that pile so that it melts a little faster. And then next weekend when I come out, like I say, I want to bring the tarp, try and cover that roof a whole lot better if I can. And if I can get all this snow behind me to melt, if I have time, I might start working on a small woodshed. I don't want anything huge, just enough to keep the wood dry over the summer so that when I come back in the fall, I've got a little stock. It started to snow and it was melting and pooling and it was starting to drip inside. Now, if it's raining inside, I can't stay here tonight. But if you look behind the chimney, what I did is I took a short piece of log and I wedged it in between the tarp and the logs on the roof, and I stood it up, and now the tarp is a little higher in the center there, and it seems to be making the water run off of it quite a bit better. I managed to start digging out the area where I want to put that little woodshed. I'd kind of like to have it right in this area here. I'm aiming at about 4 feet deep, maybe a bit less, by 5 to 6 feet wide this way, and probably come up to about 6 feet. And that should give me plenty of room to store lots of wood. Once I'm done working on the cabin, I'll be storing a whole lot of wood in there as well. So between what'll be in the cabin and what'll be out here, I should have plenty. I've managed to balance the little grill precariously over top of the rocks. I've got my Autoland cook set. I took out the pot. And I've got some leftover chili that we had this week. So I'm just going to dump that in the pot. Stick that up there and let that warm up. So, spent the afternoon going up and down the hill. I found a birch and a poplar up there. So I went and checked on them, and they're still fairly solid, but they're still just a bit damp. So I hauled them down, I split them up, cut them, split them, and I piled them behind the cabin and threw a piece of plastic over them. Hopefully next fall they'll be nice and dry and ready to go. And after sticking the log underneath that roof, I seem to have stopped the dripping inside, which is good, because it's been, sun comes out, nice for a little bit, clouds come in, it snows. So I think I'm going to be okay for the night. We can only hope. I purposely took out my glasses because while I'm waiting for supper, I picked up a Cameron's Brewing from Oakville, Ontario. It's a Captain's Log Lager. Since 1836, many a captain has used Oakville's first lighthouse as a guiding light during their evening voyages, a true Oakville landmark. The first lighthouse keeper was also the town's first tavern owner. Today, Captain's Log is brewed with only the finest 2-row malted barley and cold-aged for a smooth, refreshing taste. Enjoy it while relaxing by the lake or after dark, and make this day worth an entry in your logbook. It's a golden lager. Oh, yeah, as far as lagers go, I'll give that one a win. Very tasty. Very smooth. Oh. And here comes the snow again. I set up just a small tarp. That's what the camera's under right now. But I just put it up there to hide some of the gear and give me a quick little spot to stand whenever the weather gets a little too crazy. The whole reason for having the grill so high is it's chilly. I don't want it to burn to the bottom. Chili's good and hot. Of course, you can't have chili. You don't have cheese. So I brought a little bit of Gouda from home. Throw some of that in there. Give that a minute to get good and gooey. And snack on a piece or two while I wait. So here's that snow again. Unbelievable. Been doing this all day. Snow a little bit, stop. Snow a little bit, stop. Just when you think you got it licked, it starts up again. Oh well. Can't always have a good day when you're out here. Well, it's always a good day. You can't always have a nice day, a sunny day. Well, it's always a good time when I'm out here. Always. Wouldn't be camping if it didn't have its little challenges once in a while. It's not even cold. The only reason I'm wearing my coat is to try and keep my shirt somewhat dry. Yep, that's just about perfect. Nice chili. The cheese is nice and gooey. That's going to be delicious. Oh, and hot. Look at that gooey cheese. All right. I'm gonna eat this. We'll see you later. It's 9 o'clock. It's nice and warm in here, but I figure I may as well set up my bed before I go too far. So we already have the cot, and this is a sleeping pad. It's the Gear Doctors. It's the Gear Doctors Apollo Air. It's an insulated mattress, and it comes with its own blow-up bag. You've got the connector here. Stick that back in, otherwise it won't inflate. It's a dual connector. I just pushed this connector back in. Now I take this part of the bag and insert it in there. And then you just roll up the bag, and as it tightens, it'll put air into the mattress, and that way you don't have to blow the mattress by mouth. Especially in the winter, if you blow by mouth, you're putting just a little bit of moisture inside your sleeping pad. And because it's an insulated pad, that tiny little bit of insulation that's in there with too much moisture, one, it can mold, two, it can freeze, and there goes all your R value. But this sleeping pad has an R value of 5.2, which is not bad. I know last time I was out here, as long as I stayed on the pad, it was nice and warm. I could not feel the cold air underneath me. If I happened to move an arm off the pad, I'd feel the difference right away. So the air mattress is all blown up. Here's the logo. Green side goes up, black side goes down. Fairly simple to use. And it actually works out to keep me very warm. Now, I usually bring out that really big bag I have, but I was looking at the Weather Network, and they're not calling for all that cold tonight. I think it's going down to -2 Celsius, which is about 28, 28, 29 Fahrenheit, around there. So I just brought out the -10 sleeping bag that I usually have inside. With this and the stove, I should be plenty warm. I have an extra little piece of plastic that was in here. I'm going to cover part of the sleeping bag with it. I haven't noticed the roof dripping. It was dripping mostly on the other side, but just to be safe. So the final step is my $2 Dollarama pillows. They weigh next to nothing. They crush down quite easily. Very easy to stuff in the bottom of my bag. And they're quite comfortable. So stick those inside the sleeping bag. Since I've raised the tarp, I've barely seen any drops in here. So I'm hoping that did the trick. But seeing as I'm by myself, I'm not going to take the chance. And like I said, next weekend I'm going to come out and I'm going to put a different tarp on the roof. And that should solve that problem. It's quite cozy warm in here. It's 15 degrees Celsius, which is about 55 degrees Fahrenheit, which isn't bad considering all of the air holes I've got where my heat is escaping. I mean, it's not fully airtight. These tarps are paper thin, the ones I've got on the side. But yeah, no, it keeps it nice and cozy in here. I'm sure once spring hits and I can finish off the walls, that'll make a big difference. Get the walls all up with the moss in between. That'll act as a good insulator. And that should be fantastic. But with this setup, I will be very comfortable tonight. I am not worried about that at all. I'm still testing out this new mic. The Dongs Chinese whatever mic. I'll put a link to it in the description of the video. But I'm not sure how much I'm going to like it. I was enjoying it. I'm not crazy about the sound quality, but I wanted to try it out to see how well they worked. And if they worked well, I don't mind spending a little bit more and getting a better quality one, just for better sound. But the problem with that is this clip, I tested it last weekend. I kept it on me. I ran all over in the woods. I cut wood. I did all kinds of stuff. Never came off. Tonight, I was in here farting around and I turned around. I almost stepped on it. I was like, what's on the tarp there? And I went and picked it up, and sure enough, it's the mic. So I'll have to keep an eye on it and go from there. The problem with the shotgun mic is I do all my filming on my phone. And the phone just doesn't have a wide enough view. So a lot of times to get me and what I want in the shot, I have to put the camera too far back. And then the shotgun mic doesn't quite pick it up. that's where we're at with that. I may stick with the shotgun. I may go back to the shotgun mic, or I may stick with this. I'm still testing it out and getting a feel for it and see which way I'm going to go. I was heavily leaning towards the lavalier because I do like the idea that it doesn't matter how far from the camera I am, you can hear me clearly. The problem with that is I just found it on the tarp, and that worries me. If I'm way back in the bush and I lose it, we'll have to see. Mind you, the better one that I buy will probably have a much better clip. But now you've seen how my sleep system works. The Gear Doctor's pad works fantastic. The only problem I find with it is it's an oblong shape and it narrows down towards the feet. And I find it's just a little bit small. If it was just a couple inches bigger from the top down, it'd be a whole lot better. It's working. I've adjusted to it, and I find it comfortable. But it would be better if it would be just a little bit wider. I find if I roll around at night, I notice it. But other than that, it's a great pad. It does keep me warm. I do not feel the cold at all unless, like I said, I roll off the pad. If like last time I was here, I was fine. I was warm. I was toasty. And then I moved my arm just off the pad, and I was still warm, but I could feel the cool air from underneath me. So, lesson learned, stay on the pad. You stay warm that way. So, I guess I'm going to turn this off and sit back and relax, enjoy the fire, and probably crawl into bed soon. Have a good night, and we'll see you in the morning. Oh, morning, everyone. I hope you all slept well. I know I did. It was nice and cozy in here. Oh, it's look at that, coffee time. Oh, it's 7:15. Oh. Time for me to get out of bed and make some breakfast, get some coffee going. Okay, I went outside and checked the thermometer. It's -2 Celsius outside this morning, which works out to about 28 Fahrenheit. And this thing was almost out when I got up this morning. Now that I've got it cranking again, we're back up to, what was it, 15 right now? 15 Celsius works out to about 60 degrees Fahrenheit. So compared to outside, it's nice and cozy. And again, I'm just in I threw on my pants and a light t-shirt. And I'm perfectly comfortable. I brought my kettle this time. Hopefully the water boils a little faster than last time. Well, last time I had that big 1 liter pot and I put 2 full bottles in it. I always have to forget something. This time I forgot my bowl. So we're going to have frying pan oatmeal. Whatever works. As long as I get to eat, I'm happy. Not sure how late I'm going to stay today. I'm going to play it by ear. I'm going to have a coffee, have some breakfast, and we'll see what happens from there. I know I do have to get home at a half decent time because I got to get my laundry and stuff done for work tomorrow. So it's not going to be a whole day thing. So you're missing a bunch of footage because the mic died and there's no way of me knowing that it died without physically looking at it every 10 seconds to make sure the little light is on. So we lost out on a whole lot of coffee making and coffee drinking and morning conversation of how I feel about coming out here and plans that I was talking about, fixing the roof, building the woodshed. Oh well, cup number 2 is almost done. That is a very, very big deterrent on keeping these. Now, it could just be this brand. Do I want to risk spending the money? I haven't decided. But I don't like the idea of losing all this footage. Coffee number 2 is pretty much done. I'm going to start packing up. And we'll go from there. I'm reheating that last little bit of coffee. So that I could have another coffee while I'm packing up. Now, as far as the lost footage goes, as I was packing, I was thinking about it. I remember turning the mic off after that first little session. I'm not 100% positive if I turned it back on again. So that could be human error as opposed to mic error. So I'm willing to give it another shot and see if I can remember to turn it on. So everything's all packed up. All that's left is to close up the bag, tie the silky to it, grab my jacket, and get out of here. I filled the fire pit with snow because I had a small fire this morning. When I emptied out the stove in there, it caught whatever branches were in there. So now that it's full of snow, that's not going to be an issue at all. So once again, it was a fantastic weekend. I love coming out here. I love having you guys along. It's always a good time. And we'll see you on the next one. Thanks for watching.